Simpson stars.
Welcome back to the show. Davante's Jets debut stat line: 3 catches, 30 yards, and several pointed critiques of the Jets' team unity and celebration routine, specifically after this Breece Hall run. Here's Davante's critiques and Rodgers' reaction. Take a listen.
I had reservations about speaking up too early and being too vocal too early, but I felt like, in my mind I said F that, because I need to, we don't have time, and I got to do whatever I got to do to help this team move forward. And lacking energy, that's a prerequisite to be able to go out there and have a good year or have a good play. This team being so talented on the, roster-wise, it's just a waste to have everybody out there and, to have a dead sideline like that. Breece catch a ball and go 60, and we can't feed off none of the energy.
Paraphrase without using any French, I thought it was the realest speech I'd ever heard in a locker room in 20 years.
Wow, that's high praise. Reaction.
Well, I credit to Davante Adams for doing that. And he prefaced it, when he started by saying, look, I know I just got here and all that stuff. So I credit him. That's leadership. The problem is the reason they may be so listless and lack so much energy might be his buddy, Aaron Rodgers. Because all the reports, whether it's true, I'm not in their locker room, but the reports are that the players, especially the defensive players, really liked Robert Saleh. Like Sauce Gardner said, we're doing this like playing the rest of the season for Saleh.
Yeah, that was odd.
But they seem to have liked him. So if they like Saleh, feel he was doing a good job, and on his side of the ball, I know he's the head coach, but his side of the ball was doing his job. Then the superstar comes in, and if they feel like he got him fired, which a lot of people feel like, we don't know the truth, but to feel like Rodgers got Saleh fired, that can dampen the spirit in a locker room. Mm-hmm. If you feel like this dude didn't deserve it, we loved him or liked him, and he got him fired, and he's not even playing well. It's hard for players, and Greg, you can speak to this better than me, but from my experience as a reporter, it's hard for players to play with a teammate that they feel runs the organization. LeBron used to get some criticism for this, because he has so much power. When players feel like he could cut me, he could trade me, that's tough. LeBron was able to lead teams to the finals, but Aaron Rodgers is looking washed. And so I think that can dampen a team's spirit. So that might be the reason they don't have energy.
Yeah, I think you're spot on as it pertains to Davante and the things that he said. I love that he said something. I'm glad he didn't just sit back and just watch it. It's kind of it's one of those moments where you have to go back to when he was very successful as a not just an individual, but even as a player on a good team. And that was in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers. And so you kind of compare where you've been and the experiences of where you've been. The one thing that I will say about him speaking up and why he probably has the ear already of almost everyone in that locker room is because of what he's been able to do in this league, and he's a fresh, new voice with different perspectives they will listen to. And they probably know if there's one person in this building that can hold the other guy, number 8, accountable because of respect, it's Davante. So it's not that he can just say this because of what is not happening for all individuals excluding Aaron Rodgers. It is including Aaron Rodgers. Like, we got to be better. Yep. And he understands, like, when you are in the locker room, you can't remove yourself from being a part of the locker room. And what I mean by that is sometimes even with LeBron, he would say, my guys, they got to do this, and he would almost like exclude himself. But when you have a guy who is highly revered in the locker room and outside of the locker room as one of the better players in the league that can hold himself to the fire, and I think Davante is that type of a guy, and we hear it from Aaron, but we don't really feel it.
So I understand that. I guess I have a very different perspective on this than Brew and Greg. First one, I don't feel like the Jets are a team. I feel like there's 2 teams. There's the Jets, and then there's the former Packers. And that's how they're discussed, and that's the way. And when Aaron's talking about we've done it before, and by we I mean me, Davante, and Lazard, when Davante, 5 days after getting there, has his Al Pacino speech, and Aaron Rodgers then says, best speech I've ever heard, I do wonder how the people who aren't Aaron's crew, that lands with all of them. I also know, and maybe this is my own flaws, but if I don't want to be lectured by someone that just got here. I don't. And I will use a.
I don't think you want to be lectured by anybody.
No, but I will use me and KW right now if we may.
Oh, geez.
So
you warned me about.
I did. I told him before, and I was like, I'm gonna tell a story. There is.
Oh wow.
At this moment, Wilds is maybe the #1 draft pick of people I will listen to advice on television stuff from. I've always known he was smart about it. We've worked together for years now. I have massive respect for his opinions on things.
Go sideways on a second.
Okay? 4 days after Wilds joined the show, pre-pandemic, you weren't a full-time. We were in the old building in the mornings. It's a Friday after. Wilds had done 4 shows. And Wilds is holding court in the conference room, explaining how we're going to fix the ratings of the first half hour. And I lost my mind. And he saw it, and he was like, "What do you?" I was like, and I was like, "I'm worried about tomorrow's show." And he was like, "Well, I'm trying to." He goes, "That's the quote was, that's easy. Let's think bigger picture." And I flipped out because I was like, even if everything he was saying was smart and correct, which it was, I was like, man, I've been getting up at 3:30 in the morning for 3 years doing this. And if I'm in that Jets locker room, and I'm like, man, I've been dealing with this nonsense as an organization since I was drafted. Hey, Davante, you got here 4 days ago, and now you're screaming at us. Even if it's the right message. If there's anyone on that team like me, which maybe there isn't, I can't imagine everyone's like, yep,
What do you want to do? Like, obviously, I agree with my own self.
Yes.
Also in that story, I am Davante Adams. You're Aaron Rodgers. No, you're not.
No, I'm not Aaron Rodgers.
You're just some guy.
Yeah, I'm Sauce. I'm Sauce. I'm like, damn it.
I think you're Braylon out.
The question. So I agree with it. Specifically, just to talk about the literal point he was making, Greg. Before Bill Belichick started taking shots at the Patriots, I would go back and watch some of his clips when he was on the Patriots, and he was very big on this. And there's like a moderately famous clip
where he's like, "Celebrate your
Yeah, and he shows a sack where a guy gets a sack and everyone stands around, and he shows another one from a game before or after or something. It wasn't in the future. It was probably before. When everyone goes, he's like, there's a difference between these two things. You can get in the guy's head. Is that something that you've experienced? Do you have a firsthand story about like, yeah, that can charge a team and demoralize your opponent?
Yeah, no question. It's real. It's infectious. Like when you see a guy make a play and the sideline erupts, you come back to the sideline, you feel great about it. Naturally, the next group, the next unit that's going to go out there is charged up because of it. But if you make a play and the sideline is dead, that's a problem. It's like, did we not just snatch momentum into our favor? Could you imagine if we were in the Super Bowl when when you guys all heard it, when the late, great Kevin Green said to Clay, "It is time." And he was alluding to somebody out here got to make a play. You've been the playmaker. Go make a play. Charles Woodson is hurt. We've got a lot of guys hurt. Clay goes out there, and then he causes a fumble. We get the ball. Could you imagine if we just are sitting on the sideline like, "Good job, Clay," and then we walk on the sideline with no energy? It's like, wait, we just snatched the momentum back. It matters how you respond to it, how you react to it.
Sick point, dude.
You know what I mean? Come on. Oh, so
yes!
Close. So close. One more time. Let's go.
Sick point.
It's a great point. I appreciate
You're
that.
out here making great points.
Appreciate that, man.
Let's go.
I'm
Next
ready.
block. Let's go. It's
I'm
your
ready.
time. We're in a wonderful. I'm fired.
They will listen to. And they probably know if there's one person in this building that can hold the other guy, number 8, accountable because of respect, it's Davante. So it's not that he can just say this because of what is not happening for all individuals excluding Aaron Rodgers. It is including Aaron Rodgers. Like, we got to be better. Yep. And he understands, like, when you are in the locker room, you can't remove yourself from being a part of the locker room. And what I mean by that is sometimes even with LeBron, he would say, my guys, they got to do this, and he would almost like exclude himself. But when you have a guy who is highly revered in the locker room and outside of the locker room as one of the better players in the league, that can hold himself to the fire. And I think Davante is that type of a guy. And we hear it from Aaron, but we don't really feel it.
So I understand that. I guess I have a very different perspective on this than Brew and Greg. First one, I don't feel like the Jets are a team. I feel like there's two teams. There's the Jets and then there's the former Packers. And that's how